Hi, man. It is very good to meet you.
Hey, thanks,
Uh,
man.
I'm Ian with Calfkicksports. We're here with John Hackleman, the legend and pioneer of modern MMA. If you ask me, I don't know, maybe just one man's opinion, but I got a couple of questions for you here. I've always wanted to ask. You have a really traditional martial arts background, and yet you got into the mixed martial arts, which gets takes a little bit from everywhere. What drew you to that?
I started my original system of martial arts is called Kaji Kempo, um, and it's a traditional martial art, but it was created in Hawaii in 1947, and it includes Kaji Kempo, which is karate, judo, jiu-jitsu, kempo, and boxing, and they put those together back in 1947, right after World War II. And these local guys were trying to start a type of martial arts so they could beat up the service guys because there's a lot of servicemen in Hawaii, and the locals didn't like that, so they started putting some self defense together and learning the self defense, and they created it, made by five guys in Hawaii, and it included a little of everything. It was just made for the street, and that was my first system in 1970 when I was 10 years old. And so when I came, so I've always been a little of everything, but I definitely favor striking.
Right.
You know, but I've worked
Yeah.
on everything. And then when I started, uh, when I started teaching, I had a little gym in my backyard, and we used to just go at it. And when people would come in and to train, they say when we spar, they'd say, "Well, what are the rules?" I say, "There's no rules, man. Just do whatever you want." And everybody would kind of be shocked because there's like traditional karate rules. I said, "There's no
Right.
rules. Just do whatever you want." And I realized real early that since I was a boxer and a kickboxer, a pro at both, um, I was better at the striking. And I realized that guys off the street that would come in to train with me would try to take me down really quick because they didn't like getting punched in the face or getting kicked in the head. So
Yeah.
I started having to work on that. Um, and I didn't really become that good at it because I was just teaching myself stuff. Um, and some of my students would, maybe someone wrestled in high school or something. But we'd start working on takedown defense. So it became part of my curriculum, even way back in the early 80s. And then came Chuck, and that was in the early 90s. And he took it to the next level, and then he started fighting. And next thing you know, I have, Olympic wrestlers coming to my gym to work on stuff, Matt Linland, Sammy Henson, guys like that, Dan Henderson. Um, and we started working more and more and more on takedown defense because we were, more striking based. So we became pretty good at both. And now I think my gym is about even. About half the guys like striking better, and about half the guys like grappling better. I always like striking better, but some of my students, people don't realize it. They'd much rather go to the ground. So that's where it
Yeah.
evolved. And it's become part of my curriculum that I teach my traditional students.
Yeah. I find that one of the cooler things too is, I mean, your gym is. People think of these MMA gyms as fighters only, but I mean, I saw the picture you sent me. You got little guys, right? How young do you start
We started
letting
three.
people in?
We
Oh
started
wow.
three. And I think my oldest guy is about 70, and not the majority. When I say the majority, I mean like 97% of my students are just there to learn how to defend themselves, get in good shape, get their black belt. We have 3-year-olds all the way up to 70, and they include cops. The sheriff of our county is one of my black belts. Um, we have we have doctors, we have surgeons and pediatricians and nurses and teachers and businessmen, and we have everything training there. It's this family gym, but the fighting is just what we're more known for because of Chuck mainly. I give Chuck the credit for a lot of things that have happened and changed at the pit. But sometimes it goes to his head, so I don't really like that.
Well, I just thinking about some of your guys that are so well known over the
But there's been a
years.
lot. There's been a
There's
lot.
been a lot. Yeah, there's been a
As
lot.
small as my gym is, I've done numbers on it. It's like, because like I love American Top Team. It's some of my best friends. We train there. We cross train American kickboxing. We've cross trained. They've sent guys down to me, and I've sent guys to them. But they're huge, like 100, square 100 or like a 100,000 square foot gyms. I mean, they're
Right.
like people live at their gym. They pay their fighters, a lot of them, um, and the fighters have to pay for the different training and stuff. Um, and people go there to MMA. That's it. But our gym's a lot different. It's more of just when you come in the gym. I mean, it's like kids running around and shit, and but they've always liked it having fighters around. My students are used to that. Like
Right.
I have regular traditional martial arts guys, and having Chuck around or Glover and or that they're just always, it's part of the culture of our gym, a traditional martial arts gym, but with the MMA in the background.
Yeah. Which is just that's awesome to me because I know I've wondered because you were one of the earlier ones to try to adopt safer training.
Yeah,
And now you hear guys like Max Holloway who's not about the sparring as much anymore, and some of these high profile fighters that are
yeah.
finally starting to see what you've been saying for a long time now.
Mhm.
I mean, that's got to be a little vindicating for you.
No, I mean, it more than vindicating. It's more just now I'm happy because it's just smarter. Where we push that hard, and it's some people really go against that with me, but like the referees love it. Like the referee, Big John would always talk about me at his meetings and stuff. Like when he's talking to trainers, like because trainers don't stop the fight. It's always the referee, and he would be like, "It shouldn't be up to us. John always stops the fight of his guy because he knows this guy better than we do. You guys know your fighters better than we do. You should be stopping it." I've stopped more fights than any other UFC trainer, and I sometimes I never, I don't remember the last time I've seen a trainer stopping the fight, and they encourage you not to. The powers that be,
Yeah,
the referees themselves like it, but some of the commission doesn't. They they like it when the referee just does it. But I'm fuck that. If my fighter's hurt, man, the fight's going to be stopped. Whether I get in trouble or get fined or whatever. If my fighters get hurt, he's getting stopped. So
yeah.
that's
Well, I mean, they
because
don't get into it for their health,
man,
so they got to
what?
have someone like you to be looking out for them because they're not going to look out for themselves when they're in there ready to, you
No,
know.
and to be honest though, I mean the referee like John and I've talked to Mark Goddard about it and Herb Dean and um, they are the best. They're better than any other kind of referee. Even I mean, especially boxing referees. Of these MMA guys we have, Big John led the pack. Herb Dean's right there. Mark Goddard. Um, um, they are they're unbelievable. They're really, really, really good referees. So you know,
Uh,
short of me always stopping the fight, I very seldom see a fight that should have been stopped that wasn't. I mean,
Yeah.
I used to. There's a couple of referees that were so fucking terrible, but they kind of got weeded out, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and the
Thank
referee,
goodness for that.
where's the fucking fighter? Why is it, or the trainer? And then the referee, it's like you're between the two of them. Even sometimes the freaking commentators are yelling, "Stop the fight!" You know, but
Yeah.
you can't do that. It's illegal for them to do that. So, you know, it's frustrating when you see and it goes the other way when they stop it too early too. But you very seldom see that. I hardly ever see a fight that I say, "Oh, that fight was stopped too early." Out of 100 fights that are stopped too early or too late, 99 of them were too late, and maybe one of them might be too early.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I know as a fan, I would personally, I'd rather see too early. I know it's going to piss off the fighter, and that's understandable. They've trained
Yeah,
for weeks and weeks for it, but like, man, I don't want to see these guys end up like NFL players where CTE and that kind of stuff. That's not what I'm in it for. I'm not a just bleed guy. I like
yeah.
seeing technique. Um, and which kind of leads me to my next kind of. I'm curious what I've watched since UFC one. You've been long before that have been in this realm. Do you like the way you're seeing MMA trend, or is there anything that you think should still be changed?
Um, Not really. No, I mean there are little rules that like 12 to 6 elbow made no sense. Um, Getting hit in the back of the head, I think that one's kind of stupid. Some people like it. Um, they think if you get in the back, hit in the back of the head, it's worse than the front of the head. I don't agree with that. I see some spinal stuff that you should stay away from. Um, I don't know. There used to be the I think small joint manipulation. That one, I don't really know if that's a rule anymore. But the dumbest one was, and the touching the ground for the knee. That was dumb, but they took that one out. So I
Yeah,
think they evolved it really well. I think they have a really good um, balance of brutality and safety. I think they do a really good job. I think the UFC, which basically Dana White is unbelievable how good, and then he has the circle of commissioners and doctors and referees around him. Like that are changing rules and making the sport better always. So yeah, there's not much that I would change at all. What do you want? You want to come in? Come on then. Come on. You can come in. You can come in. We'll quit knocking on the door. But that's the doggies. The doggies always
yeah.
scratch at the door, and then when you let them in, then they scratch to go out. And I'm like, no, don't. You can't eat that. You can't eat that. Okay. Oh, what else we got? What else we got? That's how I think. That's how I feel about that. I think the rules they get under control right now are pretty damn good. I think they've ironed out almost all the kinks, and there's not much I would change in MMA, to be honest.
That's kind of how I've felt because you look back, like I say, at the early UFC days and even Pride, like that was definitely trended for the brutality over safety with the soccer kicks and things like that. That was
Yeah.
rough. But well, what about your local scene out there? You still got pretty healthy local fight scene out there?
Not really as much. It's kind of run its course with me. Um, Doing this fighting, stuff for so long, since I had my first fight in 1974, and I've fought in every area of fighting. Um, Short of like I didn't do like specialty like jujitsu or wrestling, but I did boxing, kickboxing, and then some early no holds barred fights when I was younger, and then yeah, I kind of then I've trained every aspect of every fight game, and you know, so after Glover was going to be my last kind of fighter. So it is. So after Glover retired, I told everybody I'm going to retire too. So I'm not. I still there's still fighters at the gym. If somebody else is training for the most part, I'll step in every now and then and say something. Hey, keep your hands up or something. But as a MMA trainer, I'm probably pretty much done.
That's I don't even know. Well, I mean, that's it's your right to do that. You've been in it a long enough time. I'd say more than earned it. Um, you mentioned Glover and you mentioned Chuck a few times.
Yeah.
Who's that one guy that never made it to that level that you know had the potential with you?
Uh, I have a guy who started me when he was like 10. His dad was a cop, and he was he started when he was like 10 before I even trained kids. So he came up, and I only did it as a favor to his dad. Um, but he came up, and he came up like at 10 years old training with like 20 some year old guys like Chuck and the Glover and all those guys, because he was a little bit younger. And you know he was that I didn't have kids classes, or it was just everybody was training in one class. This was in the 90s. And his name is Luke Rittering. He's a cop now in our town. And he was undefeated in everything he fought. He would just knock people out. And MMA, he could beat everybody at everything. He was just a freak, because probably started so young. Um, and he was on his way to the UFC. Everybody was looking at him. Nobody could beat him in kickboxing or MMA. And just one day, out of the blue, he had just won a fight. He goes, "Hey, John, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be a cop like my dad." And I said, "Sounds good. All
Yeah.
right. I hope you stick around." So he still comes to my gym. He trains. Nobody can touch him. I mean, he just plays with everybody when they spar and grapple and stuff. But he still comes, and he has 3 kids now, and he's a cop. He's a local cop. The sheriff of our county is one of my black belts too. Um, so I have him, and um, I had another guy like in the 80s that was really good, but he got kind of he was undefeated too, and they were picked. This was before the MMA craze. He was a kickboxing guy. K1 wanted him, but he was undefeated in kickboxing, and he got some chick steered him like out of training. And to this day he has a pit right now. He has the pit that's in Malibu. We have a pit in Malibu, and he runs it. He's still a martial arts instructor, but he could have been easily a champion, but he let this girl, have him stop training and doing all kind of other stuff. And now they're not even together, and he
Ah,
wishes he stuck with it. But so there's those two. But I have a lot of really good guys that just didn't. Sometimes it's luck of the draw. Who's your first fight and sometimes you could be a last minute replacement, and now you're next thing you know, Dana, you know, gives you a title shot. And I have a lot of that kind of stuff. But so anybody can, if they have the heart and the skill, can, it relies on a little bit of luck here and there. But
yeah,
yeah, those,
yeah,
those are those are the two most. But I've had make it to the Ultimate Fighter, right? We've had Court McGee, Ramsey Nijum, Steven Seiler. Um, they've all been an Ultimate Fighter. In fact, Court McGee won season 11 of Ultimate Fighter. So he didn't make it work.
Ramsey made it to the
He might
finals.
he might still do it. He's still in the UFC.
Yeah.
And we have Von Flue, Jason Von Flue, with the Von Flue choke and shit. And so
Yeah, I was gonna say
had
it's
some good guys.
hard to deny the skill of somebody if they get a choke named after him.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, like I say, I didn't want to take too much of your time because I know you're still a busy man, especially if you're retired. Everybody says you get more busy after you retire.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, well, I could not appreciate this more. It's been an honor and a pleasure to talk to you.
No problem,
Um,
brother. Anything you need, let me know. And just keep going. And we'll have you on our live someday and we'll talk. Do you watch all the fights?
oh yeah,
Okay. Well, I'll call you on our live one day and you can come on and we'll talk with
sounds
Angelo.
great.
Hi, Angelo. All right.
Yeah, sounds awesome, man. I appreciate it.
All right, brother. Thanks.
Yes, sir. Have a good weekend.